Okay, so today I thought I'd show everybody how to make some cream of celery soup. I was cleaning out the fridge and I noticed that I have, some celery that's still good, but just it's had better days. So I got kind of two whole heads here. I haven't really used them all. So to start, I'm going to turn on the back burner there on a fairly good heat, and I'm going to get into the middle of the celery and get these little basically the celery hearts. You smell them, they smell like pure soup. So I'm just going to kind of make a little celery stock, if you will. That's going to be kind of the liquid for the soup. Let me get this other one. I don't even think I'll need all of this celery. It's just all of it kind of has to get cooked, and rather than throwing it into the garbage. You don't need a lot of stuff or a lot of ingredients to make this soup. Basically, today all I'm going to use is the celery, one medium-sized onion. Since we're pureeing it, it doesn't really matter that you cut it into a fine dice. Just for this sake, I got 3 cloves of garlic. Today my fat that I'm going to use for the roux is just simple margarine. I don't actually have butter. I'm going to use some flour, salt and pepper of course, and to make the puree a little easier, I have a wand mixer. You can use, if you get it soft enough, just a potato masher, but in this case I just got this wand mixer and I'm gonna use it. So that's basically it for ingredients. I'm gonna turn on my other element now. I'm gonna finish dicing this onion just by going down the kind of the middle lengthwise of the onion. Now you can, if you're fancy, although we're pureeing once again, you can just kind of go through the middle like that with your knife, and then you go crossways over the slits that you made in the onion. So put that in. Really sure what's burning there. It's just stuff on the element. So I guess you gotta get some butter in there. To start, I'm just gonna put kind of a heaping serving spoon in. Now with the celery, if you're making a chicken noodle soup, for example, where you're not necessarily pureeing it, I'd make a dice for a chicken noodle soup, and this is kind of how I do it. I cut it down the rib, and I kind of split it again, and then I line them up, and I just cut like so. That's enough strong onion. It's got me tearing up here. So then that's how you get a decent dice. If we were making such a soup, that can go in. For the rest, I'm just going to kind of cut it. Good. So I'm going to continue along and just kind of rough chop the rest of this celery here. Throw that in. I only have the element on, but between 3 and 4, so kind of low to medium heat. And with all these little bits that I'm cutting off, I'm simply going to put them into the stock. I can strain it out later. The stock's just going to give you just that little bit much more of celery flavor in your soup, and it's just going to be much better. I think what you'll find is a lot of soups are kind of made the same way. You don't really need to measure anything. A lot of the times it's just kind of what's ever in the fridge and whatever you have. And to avoid you throwing it out, you may as well make a soup out of it. Give that a little stir. So basically we're just going to cook it down till each celery piece kind of gets soft enough that it's going to, I guess, blast apart when I put the hand wand in. So it's got about, let's give it another 5 minutes or so. As I said, I can put some of these extra scraps into the stock pot. I guess I see what I don't have in there is my garlic. I gotta get my garlic in there also. The beauty about soup making is just how you like it. Once you learn how to make a soup, you know, you can try it again and add something else or don't add something. That's the beauty of it. It's not quite like baking where there's, you know, a specific recipe to do something or a specific amount that you gotta kind of follow. Baking's more like a science. This is just, it's how you like to taste it. So again, there's really no measuring involved. You just kind of gotta try it. I got one left here. And just quickly chop it. Okay. Suppose I should have got my garlic in there, you know, while the onions were sweating down, but it really doesn't make a difference. How I'm gonna end up making kind of like a garlic paste with this. It really spreads out the garlic through the soup or through really any dish that you make. I kind of learned how to, we were taught it the first day of culinary school or so. It stuck with me, so I just kind of smash them and put some salt on top. And I'm just going to run my knife through it once more, and then, so, provided you have a sturdy, you know, wet cloth underneath your cutting board, you just take the side of your knife and you just kind of smash it, rub it right into the cutting board. And after about 10-15 seconds or so, you're going to get all the garlic oil out of it, and it's kind of like a paste. Run the knife through again, and then it goes. At this stage here, it's important, I find, to season the vegetables. Even though you will season the stock, just if you don't necessarily season the vegetables at this stage, the vegetables can just kind of taste kind of bland even though the stock is seasoned. So just another pinch of salt or so, and we'll put some ground pepper in. Now in a restaurant setting, if you charge money for this, maybe stay away from the dark peppers. People kind of get freaked out when they see dark things in cream soups. But again, this is just for my own home, my own fridge, and the way I like it. So when I feel that the vegetables have been cooked down enough, or the celery and the onion have been cooked down enough, I'm gonna put my roux mixture right in with the vegetables here and cook it down with the vegetables. Now other people have seen me do this and they don't realize that you can do it this way. One of the ways is you get a separate pot and you make your roux in there and then you add it in. But this way we'll skip a step. We will save another pot from getting dirty. That's the key too, is just kind of taste as you go. If it tastes good as long as you're going, you're gonna like it when it's done. Not too tricky once you know how. Turned up the heat a little bit just to kind of speed it up. From there, you just got to just kind of mix it a little more frequently. Another way to get some good celery flavor in is if I were to take a few of those celery stalks and roast them for a little while. I've seen that until they're soft, and then basically add it into the pot the same way and puree it from there. Alright, so I just had a bigger piece there. It's going to continue to cook a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add my fat. I'm going to add, again, I've never really measured these things before. I just kind of add as I go, but for the sake of a video, I'm going to measure it. Let's start off with about a half a cup of margarine. Kind of the rule of thumb of a roux is equal parts fat, equal parts flour. I'm going to mix that in. Just going to get out my strainer for when I need the stock. Alright, let's get rid of the butter, margarine. Just going to kind of pour out a half cup of flour. And again, I have it on medium heat. The higher the heat, the more risk you have of burning it. Okay, so we're just going to add the flour, we're going to mix it up. And it's going to come very dry, which is just fine. That's just what we want. The key to a roux is to cook out the flour. Currently now the flour is raw. If I were to go ahead and put the stock in now, it would taste a whole lot like flour. So we don't really want much color on the roux and the flour. We do have to let it cook. It's kind of like a tightrope. So when I'm cooking at the restaurant and making a big batch of soup, you know, 50, 80 liters at a time, kind of my rule of thumb is when I think the roux is done, I'll wait an extra minute, minute and a half, and just let the roux cook a little longer. Reason being, if you add your liquid a little too early, it takes a little bit of more time and some more effort to alleviate the raw flour taste. As you can see at the bottom, it's just starting to stick, which is fine. If it goes brown on the bottom, that's fine. What you're trying to avoid is the burning of the roux. Just kind of like raw flour, burnt flour. It's not very appealing to the taste, and again, very tough to kind of fix. So when we're at the restaurant and we have a big pot of soup, kind of like stewing away, if you will, kind of our rule of thumb amongst any of us cooks is try never to scrape the bottom. You know, mix it up, but don't really get in there and scrape the bottom like I am, because with cream soups it's inevitable or almost impossible to avoid that the bottom of the pot doesn't burn. So when you gouge down at the bottom after the soup is stewing, you're going to pick up some of that burnt flavor, and it's going to get all into the soup. If you don't do that, somehow the burnt flavor stays stuck to the bottom, and the soup still tastes just what you're looking for. So we're getting pretty close in cooking out this flour. Again, I'm going to use my rule of thumb that I'm just going to let it cook here for another minute or so. I might have a little, I could have probably used a little bit more than a half cup of flour and fat now that I'm seeing it. And I'm learning as I'm making this video. I'm learning all the time in the kitchen. So far, pretty simple stuff. Okay. Then sometimes what I do when I'm just kind of finishing off the roux is I'll just take a little bit of the liquid and I'll just put a little bit in at a time, and you'll hear the sizzle now. The pot is quite hot and quite dry, and it's just looking for a little bit of liquid. Another bonus of kind of doing your roux this way is you don't get necessarily nearly as many flour lumps as you can get doing a roux kind of just the more traditional way in a separate pot. Just add a little bit more stock. You can also use kind of celery stock and some milk. I might actually finish it off with some milk. Now you can start to see that the flour is starting to show up, and we'll get our cream of celery soup soon enough. Now that I think of it, now that I see it, as I said I was learning, I think I just have just the right amount of flour and roux in here. Just add a little bit more. Turn it on there. Okay, so it's looking good. Just gonna go ahead and just kind of strain through a little bit more celery stock. And I just kind of add as I go. We're gonna kind of mix it up now. And you can see it's a lot more like a soup consistency. taste. It's not bad. It needs some salt, needs some pepper, and as the celery kind of cooks down, it will taste like cream of celery soup. It'll be just fine for supper tonight. So what I've done is, instead of throwing out, you know, two kind of celery stalks that could have easily just hit the garbage, I've saved them and made them into a soup. Now right now it doesn't look like much, and I am probably going to have to thicken it with some cornstarch. That's just another kind of lesson in itself. Or I could make another side roux and thicken it also. Kind of the rule of thumb with roux and thickening with cornstarch is the roux or the thickening agent doesn't reach its full thickening power until the liquid or the gravy or the soup, the stew, whatever have you that you're trying to thicken comes to a boil. So it's not quite to a boil yet, but just through experience I know that it's not going to be, you know, that thick velvety soup, so I might just have to make an adjustment. And if I do that, for sure I will have the camera on and ready and showing you. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to kind of let that simmer there, soften up some of the vegetables a little more. Yeah, I could just use a little bit more cooking, if you will. The celery itself it's going to leach into the broth, and I think we're going to have a pretty awesome soup for supper tonight. Okay, so I'm back. It's been about between 5 and 10 minutes. I turned the heat up to I guess about a 4 on the dial, and right now what I'm getting is a nice even kind of rolling boil. It's not as thick as I would normally like it at this stage, but at this point it is what it is, and we're gonna go with it. The smell in the kitchen right now is fantastic. It smells like just a nice soup of celery. I don't really know how to describe it, but we're looking pretty good. When I pull out like a piece of celery at this point, I try. It's still got some firmness to it, but it's kind of like what I'm looking for. It kind of like mushes up in your mouth a little bit. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this over to the side. I'm going to turn off the stove just for a second, and I don't normally do this for all the soups when I'm pureeing them, but in this case I am. I'm just going to strain the solids out into the okay, so do that. And we're going to go in there and just pulsate it up. This will also help to thicken the soup a little bit. Alright, there we go. So we kind of got a mashed celery going on here now. It's got still some fairly good chunks that you'll be able to get on your spoon and eat it. And then we're just going to transfer our soup liquid just right back into the same pot. And kind of stir it up again. We're going to give it a taste. Turn the heat back on. Oh yeah, it's almost there. Just gotta add some salt. Yeah, maybe about that much. A little more. If it's too salty, you can always just water it down a little bit with some milk or just some more straight water. It's very good. Quite hot, but very good. Maybe just a little bit more salt. And we'll grind some more pepper in there. Stir it up. It's actually not bad consistency. Yeah, that's it. That's good stuff. Alright, and there we are. There's what it looks like in the bowl. It could have been pureed a little bit more. It's still pretty rough, but I've just made myself lunch and I'm going to enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got some tips and tricks on how to make your own soups at home. And I strongly suggest that whether it's, you know, celery that's about to turn, or you got mushrooms, or basically anything. Broccoli, cream of broccoli. Anyways, I'm going to eat that. Okay, so I ate that bowl of soup. It was just fine, but some of the chunks were just a little too big. So what I did is I just kind of went back to the pot and I pureed it some more. And what we got now is a lot better consistency. It's the thickness I'm looking for. You know, it's got some body and still kind of thin. And then kind of go over to the bowl here, and yeah, that's much better. So I invite you to try to make this soup. If you're a boyfriend, you make this for your girlfriend. I think you're gonna have a good time, and yeah.